Chris Lee of Southeastern 14, presented by Bearded Iris, here to do SEC Power Rankings with 2 weekends left in the season before we hit postseason play. And we start at the bottom with the 2 teams from the state of Mississippi. And spoiler alert, I think these will be the 2 teams that will be staying home for Hoover based on what's ahead and what has been banked. Now, I know these 2 teams played in the regular season, and that's usually a pretty good separating point from 2 teams is who won the series, especially when they have the same record. However, I do realize that Mississippi State beat Ole Miss and Oxford, but you look at some other things, and you were comparing these teams to the field, and that's where there's a clear difference between these 2 teams. Mississippi State is minus 113 in SEC games. That is hands down the worst record in the league, the worst run differential in the league. Second is Ole Miss at minus 52. The Rebels, if you believe in Pythagorean record, which is telling you a team scored this many runs and it gave up that many, and usually that is a very good predictor of record. That is saying that Ole Miss should be more like 9-16 in the league rather than 6-18. Now, I know that's not any consolation to Ole Miss fans. It has been a rough season. Hunter Elliott is done for the year, hopefully back next year, but it has been a miserable season for baseball in the Magnolia State. And Ole Miss, I think the chances of going to Hoover were greatly hampered by that loss to Missouri. The Tigers are number 12 in our power rankings. They've got Georgia and Columbia this weekend and then a road trip to Auburn. Missouri a little better in run differential at minus 49, but the Tigers are minus 136 in runs scored in the league. Okay, we get to Georgia at number 11. The Bulldogs are 10-14 with a road trip coming up this weekend to Missouri, followed by a series in Athens against LSU. Georgia's minus 25 in league play and runs scored, but 29 in the RPI. And that is really the more important number. Again, we use run differentials to kind of sort out what we think teams really are and really are not. That's a whole lot different from the resume process. And the Bulldogs at number 29 in the RPI this morning and 10-13 against RPI top 50 teams still have a nice chance to make the NCAA tournament if they can take care of business the last 2 weekends. I think my guess is 14-16 would get Georgia in the NCAA tournament. 13-17 might even do it. Anyway, we will get into that in a different video and talk about that more. But just as a spoiler alert, I think Georgia has still certainly got a chance after beating Tennessee in Athens this weekend. Another team that certainly got a chance after its weekend, which included beating LSU 2 out of 3 times in Auburn. That is the Auburn Tigers at 11-13 and minus 30 in the league. Auburn has got some really nice wins and a nice NCAA tournament profile. RPI puts Auburn in that range. Again, we will get into that in another video. Number 9, the Texas A&M Aggies at 11-13 overall. Texas A&M will play host to Alabama this weekend and then go to Mississippi State. The Aggies minus 4 in run differential. The non-RPI computers really like Texas A&M. I'm finding the Aggies in the top 35 overall at most of them. So if you think that A&M is a NCAA tournament caliber team, which I do, the non-RPI computers agree with you. The RPI has got A&M certainly in the range to get an at-large bid. It will be, can A&M pitch and defend? And we get some mixed signals here. A&M has got a 2.6 home run rate in SEC games. That is second in the league. So the Aggies pitchers, although it's not been going particularly well, they have kept the ball in the park, which is key to pitching these days. But when the ball goes in the field of play, batting average on balls in play, 343. That means A&M's defense is not doing a really good job in turning batted balls into outs, and that has been a big factor in terms of what has led to A&M's difficulty at preventing runs. Okay, number 8, I've got Alabama, which goes to A&M this weekend and then finishes off in Tuscaloosa with Ole Miss. Of course, Alabama 11-13 in the league. It is plus 15 and suggested record more like 13-11 in the league. I have bought into Alabama for a long time for reasons that if you start looking at the underlying metrics underneath the win-loss record. There's a lot to like with Alabama. Alabama is a consensus top 20 team in the non-RPI computers that I look at nationally. It is allowing the second fewest runners per inning in SEC games in terms of pitching, a 264 batting average on balls in play. That makes Alabama one of the top 3 defensive teams in the league in terms of turning batted balls into outs. Veteran lineup. Look, there's a lot here to like about Alabama. And, of course, we know about Brad Bohannon, Alabama's coach, who got implicated in a gambling scandal. Now will not be coaching. And perhaps coincidentally, perhaps not, Alabama won 2 of 3 against Vanderbilt last weekend. Again, I think this is a team that everything to me suggests is an NCAA tournament team and one that I think could play in that event for a bit. Before we get to the top half of our power rankings, a quick shout to our sponsor, the Bearded Iris Brewing Company. The Sylvan Supply location is home to Black Dynasty's secret ramen house. You will find a wide variety of comforting bowls of meaty and vegan-friendly ramen with house-made noodles, alongside rotating features, seasonal sides, salads, and desserts. If you are in the Nashville area where we are, go check out the Bearded Iris Brewing Company on the west side of town and tell them you heard about it on Southeastern 14. Okay, speaking of teams that statistically have underachieved, based on runs scored and given up, nobody has got a better case for having a better record than the Vols. Plus 25 in SEC games, that suggests Tennessee should be more like 14-10 rather than 12-12, which it is in SEC play. Plus 192 in all games, that suggests the Vols should be more like 37-11 and not the 32-16 they are. Tennessee has got the best differential between free passes and strikeout rate in league play. That's a good leading indicator for pitchers. That means Tennessee's pitching is legit good, which we kind of knew that. The numbers haven't always been great. So some things to like if you're a Tennessee fan that suggests maybe you're better than the records show. However, there's also some issues. And I think when we get into NCAA tournament consideration, I think Tennessee's going to make the tournament. But if Tennessee can get above 500 in the league, then the committee is going to start digging in on resume. And the Vols are 2-11 away from home. Actually, I think they are, 3-13 away from home, 2-11 on the road. That's going to be a problem because it suggests Tennessee is a much better team in its own park. If Tennessee is playing in Knoxville, no reason the Vols couldn't advance to Omaha. And frankly, no reason the Vols couldn't advance to Omaha playing anywhere. But right now, Tennessee not playing well away from home, didn't get swept, but lost 2 of 3 at Georgia this weekend. So that is going to be a problem to watch going forward for Tennessee. Tennessee's last series of the year is at South Carolina, and the Vols play a huge series this weekend at Knoxville against Kentucky. Okay, I've got Florida number 6 in my SEC power rankings. You will see Florida higher in the national rankings a lot of places than you will see in my SEC power rankings, and this is why. Florida's plus 9 in the SEC in run differential. That suggests more like 13-11 rather than 15-9. The Gators are just the 8th best team in the SEC in terms of runners allowed per innings pitched. Again, if you get runners on base as a pitching staff, that means bad things are probably coming. Florida's pitching has not been nearly as good as we thought, and I know that the Gators play in a bit of a cozy home run park, and that certainly knocks Florida's pitching numbers. But just looking in at run differentials and things like that, Florida in the SEC has not been the dominating team that the record suggests. Okay, number 5, South Carolina, and it feels like nothing has gone well for the Gamecocks in 2 weeks. But they're still 14-9 in the SEC. They've got series coming up at Arkansas and then Tennessee at home. By the way, Florida's got Vandy at home this week and then at Kentucky. Carolina is plus 31 in the SEC in run differential. It is plus 206 in all games. That is second behind LSU in all games. For the Gamecocks, it's really simple. Just get healthy. Will McGillis has been out. Talmadge LaCroix has been out. Braylon Wimmer has been out. All those guys are supposed to be back soon, according to Coach Mark Kingston. Now, the pitching, that's more of a question. Noah Hall has been out for a while. Sounds like he's not coming back this weekend, maybe next. Who knows? It's a little bit ambiguous. Eli Jerzenbeck was yanked from his appearance against Kentucky on Sunday. We don't know how he's doing. Chris Veach also, I think, got yanked. Maybe it was last weekend. He's been out a while. He is a key arm to their bullpen, as is Jerzenbeck. Hall was a starter. And I know Arkansas fans are going, hold my beer on injuries, and we'll get to you guys in a minute. But South Carolina, ever since the injuries really took a toll, their performance has suffered. Remember, it was just a couple of weeks ago that Carolina took a series. In fact, I think swept the series from Florida in Columbia in impressive fashion, but just got swept by Kentucky over the weekend. Again, Carolina, I think if these guys get healthy, they are a team you do not want to face anywhere, anytime in the postseason, but a long way to go before Carolina gets there. Let's hope that happens. Okay, number 4, Kentucky. A team that I think has been underrated all year. People have found reason to hold Kentucky out of regional projections despite that RPI. Well, Kentucky, number 1 in the RPI and 14-10 in the league. And I think you will start seeing the Cats pop up as a top 8 national seed in projections this week. Spoiler alert, they will be top 8 in mine. Kentucky, number 2 in the SEC in run differential at plus 50. The Cats are giving up fewer home runs in league play than anybody in the league, 2.5%. A lot to like there with the Cats. Pitching, defense, a balanced lineup. I think Kentucky, again, I don't think that people realize how good Kentucky is, but this is a team I don't think you want to be playing right now, which South Carolina certainly found out with less than a full deck. Huge series coming up in Knoxville this weekend, and then the Wildcats will get Florida in Lexington to close the season. Number 3, I've got Arkansas at 17-7, which is tied atop the SEC's overall standings with Vanderbilt. Difference in those two teams, Arkansas is plus 36 in runs, Vandy is plus 64. Those two teams will end the season in Nashville to settle it there. Arkansas has got a series in Fayetteville coming up this weekend, which will also be key. I see Arkansas fans banging the drum for Dave Van Horn as coach of the year, and, man, it's hard to disagree. I mean, Mark Kingston is going to have an argument. Nick Mingione at Kentucky is going to have an argument. Several other coaches have done good jobs, but we talked of injuries with South Carolina. Nobody has had injuries more than the Hogs this year. Jax Wiggins, their number 1 starter, he never threw a pitch this year. Dylan Carter, maybe their best bullpen arm, he's done. UCL injury. Cody Frank, good arm, bullpen transfer from Nebraska, he's done. The lineup has started to get hit. Jared Wegner, Peyton Stovall, both out. I think those guys are coming back soon, hopefully. Now, Parker Rowland, their catcher, he's back. Hunter Holland, who was questionable to throw last weekend, did throw and threw a few innings, so that was good. You hope for Arkansas, if the Razorbacks can get these guys healthy, that's a phenomenal team. I think an Omaha-level team. But you know what? Arkansas has been winning without him, so who knows? Hats off to Dave Van Horn on a tremendous job so far. Vanderbilt, remaining games at Florida this weekend in Gainesville for a series, and then Arkansas in Nashville. Again, Vanderbilt, number 1 in the league in run differential. It is the number 1 team in the league at allowing base runners at 1.35 per inning. But a little mixed signal when you look at the Commodores overall, 139 plus 139 in all games. That's just 7th best in the league. It's kind of been a little bit of a tale of 2 seasons for Vandy in conference and out of conference. And the out of conference schedule was pretty good, but Vandy really turned it on when league play started, although the Commodores have slumped a little bit lately, and that series this weekend in Gainesville will be huge. All right, LSU, the number 1 team overall by run differential. LSU is plus 32, suggesting they've overachieved in league play. Maybe should be closer to 14-10 if you believe in that. But LSU's pitching has been in some ways a little better than people think. Home run rate, 2nd best in the league. Free pass minus strikeout rate in SEC games about 13%. I think that's 2nd or 3rd behind Tennessee. So LSU's pitching, for all its issues behind Paul Skeens, there's some indicators that maybe LSU's got a little better pitching than we think. The problem is batting average on balls in play. LSU's defense was an issue a year ago, and when balls are hit in the field of play, it goes for a hit at a 336 rate. So that's the third worst in the league. LSU's defense could stand to help out its pitchers a little bit more. But anyway, by run differential, the Tigers still the number one team in the league in all games. You're seeing LSU one or two with Wake Forest and most of the computers across the country. RPI, I think, has got LSU at 4. But I think right now LSU and Wake Forest probably the top two teams in the country, probably not in that order. But we are keeping the Tigers at the number one spot this week, even though they trail Vandy and Arkansas by a half game. I think that LSU is going to end up winning this thing. LSU has got a series in Starkville this weekend. Actually, check that. Make that. That's in Baton Rouge. If LSU doesn't sweep that series, I will be surprised. That said, State can hit, so you never know. And then a series at Georgia. And again, we've talked about Foley Field as being a tough place to win. Kentucky's found that out. Arkansas's found that out. Tennessee's found that out. So we'll see how that goes in Athens in a couple weeks. But my money on LSU to emerge as the overall champion in the SEC, and that is one reason. I've got the Tigers at number one again this week. Okay, we're doing a ton of baseball content. We will come back with some bracketology or regional projections, whatever you like to call them. This is Tuesday morning. I'll be working on those today, and I'll put those out as soon as I've got some homework to do. So that may come out Tuesday afternoon. That could come out Wednesday morning. Either way, hit the subscribe button. That helps you get notified. If you enable notifications when that's out, hit the like button. That helps our analytics. We'll be back with tons more content. We've got football stuff coming out most days. We've got basketball stuff coming out when players land in the portal or we have news there. In any case, I am Chris Lee at Southeastern 14. Thank you for watching our channel, and we'll see you again soon.